For the first time in the university's history, operations at DePaul were almost entirely remote this past school year. Online work and virtual learning came with many challenges as the university adjusted to its new medium. Freshman Zoe Brigado explained the difficulties of starting college remotely.
Jumping into college like remote was definitely difficult, and like getting acclimated to like everything and like knowing where resources are. I guess like learning how to use D2L because I had never used anything like that before. I was like, what is this? It was like hard for me to kind of like understand how to turn in assignments or like speak to professors.
Because of these difficulties, Brigado believes the university should have done a better job helping incoming students like herself.
The transition for freshmen, they could have done a little bit better because we had orientation and then we had a meeting with our advisor and then we went to class. Like that was it. It wasn't like, like here's like maybe a workshop to like get acclimated to D2L, like to understand it, or maybe hosting more virtual events or like having some type of like, I don't know, like network to where like students could get to know each other.
Senior Kendall Palmer had a markedly different experience. For her, the academic year was fairly easy.
I am a senior, and so I had years of academics after high school under my belt, which I think aided in the ease of kind of switching to this different mode of learning.
Even so, Palmer understands that not everyone shared her experience. She agrees with Brigado that the university did not do enough to support students throughout the academic year.
I think there was just a need for support, connection, community, and, help. And I don't know if we found a way to do that. And I don't necessarily know what my suggestion would be. I think giving students more flexibility could have been an option. And I know administration would have been like, well, we did, but you only did for part of last year and part of this year. So did you really? No.
The policy Palmer refers to is the PassFail system that the administration implemented last spring. That policy allowed undergraduate students to opt into an alternate grading scale that would either award them a P or passing grade for work that earned at least a C- letter grade, a D for a D+ or D letter grade, or an F for a failing grade. As part of the new policy, students had 3 days after final letter grades were posted to decide whether they wanted to switch to the Pass-D-Fail scale. Students overwhelmingly favored this policy. During the spring quarter, there was a 509% increase in students opting in to this alternate grading scale. In part because of this, the policy was extended to the fall quarter and December intersession. However, despite pleas from students and efforts by Student Government Association, the university chose not to reinstate the policy for the winter and spring quarters. SGA President Alyssa Isberto says this was just one way the university could have better supported students during the pandemic.
That, I think, was something that I wish could have been done, extending that PassFail policy. But I think just having that option where it takes a burden off your back, not having to worry, especially for students who are struggling to cope with a million other things in the middle of a pandemic, that school may not always be their priority. So I feel like this would have been super beneficial to students, extending that policy throughout the entire time that we were in a pandemic.
Responding to these complaints, Ellen Fingato, the Dean of Students at DePaul, says the university did the best it could.
I think the university did the best that they could with, again, those large, far-reaching things about, pass-fail and incompletes and whatnot, but still making sure that we honor the individual stories of students and being clear about what we can and cannot accommodate.
Jill Hopke, an assistant professor of journalism, echoed this belief.
I do think that the university administration at all levels have handled it as best as they possibly could under these extraordinarily challenging circumstances.
However, academics weren't the only way students felt they could have been better supported. Isberto believes more should have been done to help those students struggling financially during the pandemic.
Having a tuition decrease would have been super helpful. The student perspective, we're paying the same price for less resources. We don't have access to the library, we do, but it's restricted. Even just other resources, because DePaul offers a lot of resources in terms of computer, printing, books, technology, things like that, and we didn't have as much access to that anymore.
Though there was no tuition decrease, the university did implement a tuition freeze. In addition to this, Fingato stressed that the university also tried to meet students' financial needs in other ways.
We had so many students reaching out saying, I can't make rent. I don't know where I'm going to get my groceries. I don't know when I'm going to get my job back. I don't know when my hours are going to increase. And I can't focus on my classes because I don't know how I'm going to pay for my apartment. And moving home is not possible for me for XYZ reasons. So we were able to significantly increase our pool of funding for what we call SEAF. It's the Student Emergency Assistance Fund.
With help from fundraising, Fingato says her office was able to award over $570,000 to 595 students in the spring 2020 term alone. These efforts continued this year as many still needed financial relief.
The demand in the spring 2020 term was really significant. The demand continues. I mean, it's definitely dropped off since then, but we are still awarding more student emergency assistance awards now than we ever have, in typical academic years.
Esperto, a senior, also says many graduates were frustrated with the minimal graduation celebrations.
Graduating students are a bit disappointed with how graduation is being conducted, but I am appreciative of the ceremonies and the things that they're planning with picture opportunities.
Palmer is just one of those many graduating students who believes the university should have done more to celebrate students' accomplishment.
I think that there could have been much more to commend students for making it through. I think we're overlooking how big of an accomplishment this is and how for certain students it took a lot more to get to this place than others. And for even the ones that it didn't take a lot to get to this place, it's still just as commendable and just as distinguished as the next. And yeah, I really think we could have heightened the experience for a graduating student this year and last.
Though she's graduating, Palmer says she has concerns about the return to campus in the fall.
Next year, I'm worried for students too, because I think people are heading into another very uncertain year.
As a member of administration, Fingato acknowledges these uncertainties. However, she believes DePaul's mission will help guide decisions and ease the transition back to campus.
One of the things that I love about DePaul and what keeps me working here for so long is our mission. And I think this is where our mission can really continue to come alive, is how we welcome people back to our physical campuses. I think that's really going to be paramount as we return back to campus, is feeling cared for, and that people know what they can expect when they return.
Many in the university community, however, don't know what they can expect when they return. For this reason, Hopke says the administration needs to improve its communication.
Additional communication can be very helpful. Additional communication of what things, what the expectations are looking like going forward. One thing is whether or not masks will be required on campus in fall term. I imagine students are also wondering about that.
So far, the university has not yet announced whether the campus-wide mask mandate or social distancing policies will return. Moreover, though students will be required to be vaccinated, there's still no word as to whether that requirement will also apply to faculty and staff. Many uncertainties about the upcoming academic year remain. However, the university has stated that more decisions regarding the fall quarter will be announced throughout the summer months. Reporting for 14 East Magazine, I'm Claire Mallon.